The flickering gas lamp cast long, dancing shadows across the cavern walls, painting grotesque murals of mutated fungi and glistening rock. Above, the Commonwealth wasteland was a distant memory, a forgotten world of sun and sky. Down here, in the underneath, things were different. Things were desperate. Sarah, her face grimy with dust and sweat, tightened her grip on the modified jackhammer rifle she'd christened the Earthshaker. The weapon, a brutal fusion of construction, tool and deadly firearm, was her lifeline down here. Its deafening roar was a familiar sound in these tunnels, a sound that usually sent the subterranean horrors scurrying. Beside her, a scruffy mutt with mismatched eyes whimpered, its fur bristling. "Easy, Bolt," she murmured, scratching behind his ears. "Just a little further. We're almost there." Bolt, a stray she'd found huddled near a collapsed subway entrance, had proven to be a surprisingly adept scout. His keen nose often sniffed out danger before she could see it. The underneath was a honeycomb of tunnels, caves, and forgotten infrastructure that stretched beneath the entire Commonwealth. Modders, bless their twisted hearts, had opened up a whole new level of hell. Now, alongside the usual raiders and ghouls, she had to contend with mutated moles the size of Brahmin, glowing ghouls that seemed to ooze radiation, and giant, salamander-like creatures with razor-sharp teeth. And the bugs. Gods, the bugs. She had been wandering the underneath for weeks now, ever since stumbling upon a hidden entrance near Sanctuary. Curiosity, and a desperate need for resources, had driven her down. Now, she was driven by a new purpose, finding a place to call home. A place where she could rest, repair her gear, and maybe, just maybe, start building something. The tunnel opened into a large cavern. A subterranean oasis. Water trickled down the walls, nourishing patches of phosphorescent, moss and strange, bioluminescent fungi. In the center, a collapsed subway station, its rusted skeletons hinting at a life long gone. "This is it," Bolt Sarah said, her voice echoing in the cavern. "This is going to be our home." The task was monumental. The station was a wreck, riddled with holes and overrun with underground ghouls. The first few days were a brutal dance of survival. She used the Earthshaker and a modified mining drill to clear out the ghouls, their glowing eyes extinguished by the force of the jackhammer rounds. Bolt proved invaluable, his barking alerting her to hidden dangers. She scavenged what she could from the station's remains, reinforcing the walls with salvaged metal, and creating makeshift barricades. Her hard-won knowledge of engineering, honed by years of rebuilding Sanctuary, was put to the test. Using the tools and materials she'd collected, reinforced mining helmets, scavenged excavator armor plates, and makeshift power tools, she crafted armor that offered surprisingly good protection against the unique hazards of the underneath. Slowly, painstakingly, the subway station began to take shape. She cleared out a section for sleeping quarters, rigging up a generator to power a salvaged water purifier, and a small hydroponics system. The flickering lights of the purifier, and the soft glow of the hydroponics bay were a welcome sight in the oppressive darkness. One evening, as she was patching up a hole in the ceiling, she heard a faint chattering. A group of figures emerged from the shadows, their faces hidden behind crudely fashioned masks made of salvaged metal and bone. They were the tunnel rats, a notorious raider gang that preyed on the unwary travelers of the underneath. Well, 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 a raspy voice echoed from the shadows. Looks like we got ourselves a squatter. The leader stepped forward, a hulking figure wielding a rusty pipe wrench modified into a brutal-looking melee weapon. Sarah stood her ground, the earthshaker raised. "This is my place." "You're trespassing." The leader chuckled. "Your place? You think you can just waltz in and claim what's ours? This whole dam underneath belongs to the tunnel rats." A tense standoff ensued. Sarah knew she was outnumbered, but she also knew she couldn't afford to back down. This place was more than just a shelter, it was a symbol of hope in a world of darkness. "Leave," she said, her voice firm. "Or you'll regret it." The leader sneered. "You talk tough for a lone woman." He signaled to his gang, and they surged forward. The cavern erupted into chaos. The earthshaker roared, sending rounds tearing through the tunnel. Sarah fought with a ferocity born of desperation, using her knowledge of the environment to her advantage. She detonated a salvaged gas canister, creating a wall of fire that forced the raiders to scatter. Bolt, a blur of fur and teeth, snapped at their heels, further disrupting their attack. The fighting was brutal, close quarters, and relentless. She narrowly avoided a blow from the leader's pipe wrench, the force of the impact sending a tremor through her arm. She countered with a kick to his knee, sending him stumbling. Then she spotted it. A loose support beam high on the ceiling. She aimed the earthshaker and fired, the concussive blast sending the beam crashing down, burying several tunnel rats under a pile of debris. The remaining raiders, shaken and demoralized, hesitated. Sarah pressed her advantage, unleashing another volley of shots from the earthshaker. "Get out!" she roared, her voice hoarse. "And don't come back." The tunnel rats, their bravado shattered, retreated into the darkness, dragging their wounded with them. Silence descended on the cavern once more, broken only by the dripping water and Bolt's panting. Sarah slumped against the wall, her body aching, her breath racked. She had won, but she knew it was only a matter of time before the tunnel rats returned. She needed to fortify her defenses. She needed to find allies. She needed to make this place a true settlement. Over the next few weeks, Sarah worked tirelessly. She reinforced the walls, set up traps, and established a perimeter alarm system using salvaged pressure plates and modified tin cans. She also began exploring the surrounding tunnels, searching for resources and potential allies. She encountered other survivors in the underneath, other people struggling to survive in this subterranean hell. Some were hostile, driven mad by the isolation and the radiation. Others were wary but willing to trade or cooperate. One of them was a grizzled old mechanic named Silas. He lived in a nearby network of tunnels, tinkering with salvaged machinery, and muttering about the good old days. He was reluctant to get involved at first, but Sarah's tenacity and her willingness to share her resources eventually won him over. Silas helped her improve her defenses, building a more efficient generator and a rudimentary water filtration system. He also taught her how to repair and modify her weapons and armor. Together, they began to build more than just a shelter. They began to build a community. Other survivors trickled in, drawn by the promise of safety and stability. A former doctor, a farmer who had managed to salvage some seeds, and a group of scavengers all found refuge in the subway station. The underneath was still a dangerous place, but now, Sarah wasn't alone. She had a settlement, a community, a place to call home. And as she looked out over the flickering lights of the subway station, she knew that she would do everything in her power to protect it. The Earthshaker, resting beside her, was ready. And so was she. And so was Bolt, faithfully watching at her side. This place, this strange, subterranean world, was their future. And they would fight for it.